Hello, golems and grave robbers. My name is TVSky, and welcome back to Battle Chasers Night War. So, this episode is probably going to be going up quite soon after the previous one, because I've some things I have to take care of in my life right now, and so these are relatively easy to make in a short time frame. So I'm going to be relying on those a little bit to plug some of the holes in the schedule. Hopefully, you will all have enjoyed the previous episode. I don't know that because I'm recording this before I upload it. So if you have left any comments or asked any questions on the previous episode, I can't answer them here, unfortunately. But we're just going to keep on pursuing, I think, the storyline. We're just going to kick the ass of this slime here because he's been looking at me funny, and I don't like that. Da-da-da. And also just to test out where our damage is at with the new stuff we've gotten. Not a lot better, but okay, I'll take it. We're going north. We're going north. Actually, we're going to the alchemist shop first, because I think he will sell us stuff now. Hey, revival flasks. Thank you.
Interesting. Oh.
What does he sell then? Oh, right. He's got for you can do alchemy crafting as well. Now, crafting in video games is I'm just not a fan.
Where are you going?
I'm really genuinely not much of a fan of crafting systems in video games. They're just, it's like because, like, the idea of crafting is that if you are, you know, clever about gathering resources and you take some time to explore the environment and find the things that you can use to craft the thing and find the secret crafting recipe, then you can make, like, a better weapon than you're normally supposed to be having. Like, the idea of crafting is that if you are patient and if you spend some more time in the environment, you can get better equipment before you're supposed, air quotes, to have it. I like that idea, but the trouble is games are always balanced so that you can't just go and craft yourself into, like, a completely broken, unbeatable superhero who's overpowered as hell, because being an unbeatable, overpowered superhero is not actually very fun for gameplay. So gameplay has to either be balanced so that you have to do crafting in order to, you know, be competitive in the power level with the enemy, or it has to be balanced so that crafting doesn't really matter that much. And that's my experience with, like, most video games, is that's pretty much where it is. Like, Skyrim takes the route where if you just abuse the crafting system, you can overlevel the shit out of yourself and you can get incredibly good equipment way before you're supposed to. We just have to defend here because we can't actually touch these guys. And so for me, crafting systems are always a little bit they never really feel integrated in a way that I'm particularly interested in, as it were. So they've poisoned the hell out of him, and I don't think I have anything that can actually deal with poisons. So, gut punch. Abadabow. And jab. Abadabow. And as you can see here, even though these enemies are still level 1, the difficulty curve has spiked a little bit, because these guys are taking a lot more hits than the slimes and the bats and stuff did to take down. And they apply poison, which is 16 HP per turn all of a sudden, because of the 4 stacks on him. Let's just do that for fun. And do that for fun. And you really might as well just get used to using your overcharge when you have it, because you can only overcharge so far. Nice. Before it doesn't overcharge anymore. Like, there's a strict limit on how much you can overcharge. So you really are encouraged just to use them. That's something I really like about this game, is that, because the trouble with me in RPGs is always The trouble with me in RPGs is always that I just... Oh, here's a random encounter. I don't want to use any spells or spend any MP whatsoever, because what if I need that MP for a really difficult battle that's coming up, and then I just end up never spending my MP on bloody well anything. Ooh, foreshadowing. That's a secret door with some loot behind it that we can get later. And that's always the trouble. And here in this game, you're encouraged to use your abilities. Like, even if you are the kind of guy who's like, I don't want to use anything. I don't want to waste my MP. I want to do anything. I don't want to use anything. There's still a reason to do so. And here we have a mini boss who actually might give me some trouble. I seem to recall that this guy can be a bit of a problem. Guess we'll find out. Yup. Bit of a problem. Bit of a problem is an accurate way to describe him. Yeah, I think we're just gonna be starting to spend some actual mana here. Because you really can just get your ass entirely handed to you in this game if you're not careful sometimes. Which is another thing, like, if you just try to go through some of this game by just kind of auto-attacking your way through it, it will kick your ass. Like, eventually you'll run into some enemies that are just not at all interested in cooperating with you. Let's see. Yeah. Do barrier swing just in case. And we'll rally strike him again to make sure we can go faster than he can. And we'll wildfire him. Now he's using his own attack buffs, as you see, and he's gonna start to hurt a lot. But there we go. Down he goes. I do remember that I in the first time I played the game, I lost party members to this guy. Like, he actually was very close to kicking my ass because I wasn't willing to use abilities. Monica. Red Monica. That's her damn name. I keep thinking Red Sonja because Red Sonja is also a character who is like 110% fantasy cheese and... You know. Let's see. Are they better? Yep. So here we have the ancient magical gloves belonging to a hero of the past with incredible powers. And let's just replace those with some boxing gloves. They are better. That's the other fantasy storytelling problem, is like if you give someone a legendary weapon, it kind of has to be at the end of the game, or else it has to be a weapon that has had its power sealed away, or some other bullshit like that. Because otherwise, you run into the problem of like, oh, look, I found a rusty weapon in this chest that has better stats. And that's, by the way, speaking of the other series that's been ongoing on this channel, Diablo, that's also kind of the problem with that game, is that no matter how powerful and legendary the weapon you find is, it's never actually really that powerful or really that legendary, and somewhere around the corner there's going to be an even more powerful and even more legendary weapon just kind of sitting in a chest somewhere, or some townsperson is going to have it and just give it to you as a reward, a random reward for a quest. And that's the kind of thing that makes it kind of impossible to do any storytelling about the world through the weapons, which is something that Blizzard otherwise have been kind of trying to do, especially like with unique weapons and weapon sets and stuff like that. They kind of try to do a little bit of storytelling about, oh yes, this weapon belonged to this ancient hero from the clan of such and such, and he had this story where he did this thing and did the other stuff, and it was very important, and oh, look, you found a blue weapon that has better stats, and so you threw the unique one away or recycled it for parts. Okay, I guess. Yes, fine. And that's something we will be talking about eventually in... Ah, yes, fishing. Which I can't do because I don't have a fishing rod. Or I guess I can. I guess I have a fishing rod. Yay! So as I recall, fish work as healing items and as loot. And I'm basically just moving my left control stick to avoid putting too much stress on the line. Once again, riveting fishing gameplay only on the TV Sky YouTube channel. Woohoo! But I do want to catch a few fish. Oh, he's so adorable. That's the Rift Scuttler. It really looks very similar to the Rift Scuttler, which makes sense because they're both based on shellfish. In fact, that is a shellfish, and the Rift Scuttler is like a magic shellfish. Ooh. There we go. Soon we will have completely decimated the ecosystem. Uh-oh. That's a tough one. Nope, nope, nope. Aha! A spare minnow. And I do note that the fish that you catch around here, even they have, like, not great character design, but at least interesting. Come to Papa, you little bastard. Come on. Come on. You know you want it. Oh, you want it so bad, I can see it on you. But I guess time expired. Come on. Take the bait. There we go. Yes. Yes, the ecosystem is destroyed. I am a god of nature, leaving devastation wherever I go. Anyway. Oh, right. Shadow coins. That's what you can trade them for. That's what it was. Not healing items. I'm thinking of another game. Are they healing items in Final Fantasy 15? That's the last game I remember fishing in. Fishing is also one of those mini games that, if I ever get suckered into it, I can spend time on them. Like if they're just like relatively well designed. I remember in Breath of Fire 4, I spent a hell of a lot of time fishing in that game. But they're so optional. And I'm kind of fine with that. Like, if there's just optional for, like, a few... If you can get, like, a bit of money or some extra healing items or, like, some small thing out of fishing. But it kind of has the same problem as crafting, that if fishing is the gate... Like, is the gate with which you are blocking off, like, the super extra powerful uber weapon that makes it, possible to defeat the evil boss at the end. Like, if you make it a story requirement that you must do the fishing and catch all of the things in order to progress the story, then a lot of players are going to be turned off because most players don't open up an RPG to go fishing in it. So you have to do the other thing. You have to balance it so that the fishing is a kind of an optional little extra bonus, maybe, but not actually necessary. And that makes it, again, feel so vestigial. And that's the thing I've noticed with me and video games more and more as I get older, is I have less and less time to waste on them. In the sense of, oh, it's another fishing minigame. Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to spend 6 hours of my life in this AAA video game just fishing. That's definitely what I want to do, because there's so many games nowadays. There's so many games, and they come out so fast, and there's so many things I have to make videos about, and I have to work so I can pay my rent and shit like that. So I don't have the time for farting around. And so this thing that used to be a huge selling point for me, which was just having more stuff to do in the game, more reasons to stay in the game world, has become a turnoff with me for a lot of video games. Now, of course, I've become extremely lucky that I have a job where I can actually justify spending hours and hours just playing video games, which is a weird situation to be in, but even still, I have low patience when it comes to sort of the extracurricular activities. And it's the thing, like, the only way to get interested in fishing minigames and stuff like that is to make the rewards suitably powerful. But if you do make the reward suitably powerful, then either I'm going to be completely broken by engaging with it and becoming overpowered, or it's not gonna matter. Like, yeah, there's no way to win, I think. And that's why recently I've become more and more of a fan of extremely focused video games. That's why I'm such a huge fan of Undertale and why I like Deltarune so much, is because these are games that take, in Deltarune's case, 4 hours for me because I wanted to beat the secret optional boss because I was doing the playthrough thing. Or, you know, Undertale's case, like maybe 10 hours if you really, really go for everything. And I appreciate that so much because it also means that I don't have to wonder, oh, would I have a different take on this game if I spent, you know, 8 hours doing the optional side quest bullshit and getting the secret end. I guess the Kingdom Hearts thing where you have to finish the journal and get all the minigames to gold and do all the nonsense in order to see the secret ending, whatever. That's something that as a kid, I loved it because it was an excuse to keep going and keep trying, and it made the shitty minigames a little bit less frustrating because there was a more tangible reward to it. But nowadays, not so much. Well, there's a little bit of eye candy for the gay male gaze there. At least several gay dudes I know certainly would appreciate a view like that. Also the furries. Obviously the furries will, will appreciate this. Anyway, more side quest business that I'm not that interested in. Where it gets annoying especially is if you do the side quests, then you will be of an appropriate level to take on the challenges that lie around in the rest of the game. That's the Assassin's Creed thing recently, especially Origins and Odyssey, where if you do all the side missions, then you will have, like, your level will be more or less appropriate to take on, you know, whatever happens in the next story mission. If this next story mission is level 18, you're level 15, do all the side missions, you're gonna get up to level 18, you can move on. And if you don't want to do the side missions, then you have to grind, because if you're not up to level with the enemies in a particular area, especially in a game like Assassin's Creed, you can't beat them. Like, they will just absolutely completely murder you, and you can't even assassinate them, one-hit kill them, because they're too high level, and you just do a bunch of damage, and then they turn around and start to murder you. I found that so frustrating and annoying that I cannot play at my own pace, that the game is forcing me to stay locked into its systems and stuff. Like, that's something that I definitely do not appreciate at all. And again, I've heard from plenty of people that they love that. Like, they love that there's so much side stuff to do, and because the quests are necessary to level them up to get to the next story mission, the story missions, like, it feels like it's more necessary than it otherwise would. And I can see that perspective, but it's like, eh. Just want to get the healing in. But it's still like, it precludes me from, like, I do want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like, and I wouldn't mind making some videos about it, specifically on just how badly it mangles, like, Greek mythology and stuff like that. But I can't. 150 hours to complete that fucking game, absolutely no way. Here's another thing I like. You can do challenge modes on the big dungeons, where you can basically complete the dungeon over and over, and you'll get randomized treasure chests, and these are essentially loot boxes that you're choosing a level of loot box that you want to get, except, of course, no microtransactions. This is a wonderful way to use the loot box mechanic. I think that you have this, like, there is this incentivization to grind, so that if you come to a place in the game where the enemies are out-leveling you, or you aren't smart enough to be able to beat them on strategy, so you have to beat them on stat checks and dueling and just have to be more powerful than them, there are options that will help you grind in a way that feels a little bit more rewarding than just wandering around for random encounters. Let's see. I don't remember if there are treasures hanging around this area, so we should check it very thoroughly, just in case that there are treasures that we will otherwise be unable to get.
This is the Iron Outpost.
It's well lit for an abandoned outpost.
Our approach hasn't been subtle. We should be prepared for resistance inside.
When are we not prepared?
Yeah, the writing in this game is also, like, it's not bad, but it is what I would call almost pathologically serviceable, right? It does the job. It does what it's supposed to do from the perspective of, like, letting the player know what to expect, and from the perspective of setting up the scenes so that we know what's at stake, but is not... I mean, in the 10-hour playtime I had with the game last time around, I never really got that much of a sense of the personalities of the people involved. Yeah, let's read this out loud. General Xavier returned from the main front last night. Because he came in darkness, few got a good look at him, other to say he seemed well. Our wars elsewhere have taken their toll on the outpost, with ranks thinning and our defensive practices becoming lax. I'm not sure Ravenheart even bothered to take his patrol last night, but then he always did seem the lazy sort. That should change with Xavier stalking the halls once more. So speaking of writing, this is a type of world building that's also really common in games that can work, but is also, to me, kind of a little bit annoying because it forces me to stop what I'm doing to read a journal entry from some dude, and it's not clear to me why these characters would want to. That's sort of the thing that's always been the trouble with me, for me, with like a lot of in-game logs and journals that you find lying around. A lot of the characters that you play in these video games, it's like, I have to question, why would they stop everything that they're doing in order to sit around and read this journal about some random person's bullshit for like half an hour? Especially when the way that these journals are designed is that you get an initial journal that kind of sets stuff up. That's what we saw with that one, is that it was just sort of an initial journal just to kind of set up, oh, that there's some military conflict going on, and this might be the story of how the outpost fell back in the day and stuff like that. But it's not going to deliver, like, the hook, like the reward for being patient comes when you find all of the journal. Like, it's supposed to incentivize you to go look for all of the journal posts so you can get the full story. And usually, you only get, like, the twist or the nugget of real information at the end of the story. Like, in the very last entry, you get this, oh, shocking twist, this dude was a traitor, or that thing happened, or this is why this looks the way it does. And it's like, I can see why that is functionally not a terrible idea. But it's also a thing where, again, it's like wasting my time a little bit, where I appreciate games that get to the point a little bit quicker. Punch in the face. But that's just me being an old man. Like, again, I'm an old man. It's also that I have seen most video game narratives 1,000 times at this point in my life. I've seen them. I know. I know what they are about. I know what they're like. I know, oh yes, the dude with the name that sounds vaguely like a known traitor from history. I wonder if he's going to betray someone. Like, I've kind of see the patterns and stuff like that. I'm jaded and old and jaded and old and cynical and jaded and old and jaded and cynical and old. And so it might not always be worthwhile listening to my advice on this stuff. I would imagine, like, for someone for whom this stuff is new, like, that hasn't played 150 billion video games in their lives, this kind of stuff could be a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting. That's also something I worry about a little bit, given that I've managed to luck my way into a career as a critic on YouTube, is that the majority of my audience are, like, according to the analytics anyway, like 18 to 35-year-olds, which is that demographic that everybody wants. But it's like, I'm 30, and I feel like I probably would come across to an 18-year-old as like unnecessarily cynical about everything. Like, because I'm always nitpicking, I'm always being critical, and that's because I have a lot of experience with this. Like, I've seen it all before a lot of the time, and it's not new to me. Where for someone for whom it is new, for someone for whom it is the first time they've experienced stuff like that, which games are often designed to be compelling to someone who's playing a game like it for the first time, you know, my views might not be entirely fair. The General is a man of glory. Truth be told, I, like the others, feel drawn into the wake of his power as he strides by. Ravenheart slapped me this morning, saying that it was just the armor, and to keep my distance from him, says that Savior has lost his way. Ravenheart is a fool. Why can brothers never get along? His jealousy is transparent. The General went to battle a man and returned as more than that. It's blasphemy to suggest so, but he's like a... The entry becomes incoherent. So here we get the journal entries out of order. That's actually kind of interesting. Did I get some things from that? Okay. And there you can see the link icon over the enemies' heads means I have to fight them both in combat. And I do like this better than just having like random encounters with like the JRPG screen transition kind of thing going on. Because it is nicer to be able to decide when you want to walk into a random encounter and to be able to prepare for it. Like if you are really low on health, to not accidentally get, like, take one step too many and then you get ambushed like by like 15 enemies and then you die and there's nothing you can do about it. It's actually Calibretto. Let's have you heal. Like a shoemaker. Yeah, let's just have you slap him in the face. Lovely color palette in the ruins. Let's talk about the aesthetic of these ruins a little bit, by the way. I do believe this tile set gets reused a few times in the game, which is okay. I also just love the sound design in this game. Like, when the enemies die, sometimes they have just the best death sounds, like the kind of thing going on. But yeah, the aesthetics of these ruins, I don't recall entirely, but I do believe there's an element of random generation to some of the dungeons in this game. Isn't there like a map? I can't seem to recall. Yes, there we go. Nope, not so much. I feel like I remember that there was an ability. There it is. There's the map. I believe there is an element of random generation to the dungeons, so that each time you go into grind, you're going to have a different dungeon layout. So it's designed around each room being its own thing, and having a particular set of exits that then transition into other randomly generated rooms. And that means, again, much like we're talking about in Diablo currently, it's like the environmental storytelling is a little bit on the weak side when it comes to, because like this doesn't look that much like an actual ancient outpost. It looks like a series of rooms covered in leaves that are just kind of sitting out in the middle of nowhere, and that's a little bit of a shame. Like, the aesthetic is still gorgeous, like the use of color just in this whole sequence is gorgeous, but you know, that's a criticism point. I finally ran into General Savior myself today. After all the chatter about his change since returning from the front, I was convinced it was blown out of proportion. Now I'm not sure it was taken seriously enough. He returned in new armor. I hesitate to call it armor because it felt more like something more than that. The way it's shown, even in the dim torchlight of the outpost's lower halls, was unnatural. I'd say my head hurt in some way, but that was probably just the hangover. Probably. Oh, so the General has some kind of mind control magic armor that's screwing with his folks. Interesting. I can't remember if that ever becomes relevant in this particular game. Maybe it does at some point. That's the other thing, is like the choice that you have to make as a storyteller between, is the stuff that's being foreshadowed in the journals going to be critical to the narrative? Because that's a dangerous route to go by. Because if you do go by, if you do go with the idea that the stuff that you put in the journals that you spend a lot of time writing that's supposed to be part of the world building for the game is critical to understanding the story of the game, then you're going to have some players who are not going to bother finding all the journals, or who are not going to be able to find all the journals, who are like, wait, what the hell? The story made no sense. I was missing so much context. I don't understand what the hell is going on. Definitely not petals, not petals, definitely not petals. Fruit didn't work with a skull either, but didn't try others with it. No idea what that means. Oh, you have to create a potion. Okay. The new assistant is quite irritating. I've been sending him a collection tasks just to keep him from hearing his obnoxious singing. Who sings to themselves that much when they're working? I feel attacked. I sing to myself a lot. Okay, so this is a little side quest where I suppose you have to find clues like this. Not petals, definitely not petals. Fruit didn't work with a skull either, but didn't try others with it. And you have to piece together the various clues that you can find around. Tried a femur with everything and no results. Humerus did not work with any fruit or leaves. In order to figure out... Hey, dungeon map. Nice. How to craft a useful potion. I guess we'll see if I care to bother with that, because this episode is already over half an hour long, so I'm gonna end it, I think, after I've explored this room fully. And we will come back in a future episode. Dun, 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 dun. Punch in the face. Dun, dun, dun. Sword in the face. Poison. Poison bad. Let's just get rid of the poison. Finally have a cleanse that I can use. Dun, dun, dun. Do, 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 do. Go. No. Bye. Oh, right, those rock things. Don't remember what they do. Let's find out. Some boxes give, this one takes. Catch it if you can, and empowerment awakes. Oh, right, you give it a piece of equipment, then it teleports to a random location, and if you find it, you get a better piece of equipment. But if you don't find it, then, you know, you obviously don't get your thing back. And that's the risk factor that's involved with that particular one. Let's see. No, that was the one we already read. And there's nothing else around here. Alright, well, that means I'm going to cut the episode here. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, like button, subscribe button, comment button, or comment field where you type the thing and then this stuff happens. And, you know, there's a Patreon with the thing. Money, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Like, if you want to support a Patreon, I would be very grateful for the help. But if you don't want to, of course, that's completely okay. And, yeah, there's a dislike button down below, but rather, there's the components for a dislike button down below, and they've been assembled nicely, and I've been looking at the recipe for the dislike button, and it was pretty clear that, like, you put, first there's the color, and then there's positioning, and then you do the coding thing, and I think I did it right, and I'm pretty sure I did not accidentally program, like, poison into this, like, it's not accidentally gonna, like, explode your computer or something like that. I think, because I went around and I found the books, and they had all the instructions, and it was pretty clear, and so I think I programmed it correctly. So if you click the dislike button, it should be fine. It should be perfectly fine. I'm a very good coder. I'm definitely not just an artist who Googled stuff, so everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be cool. Everything's working perfectly okay, and there's no cause to panic. Thank you very much for watching.